Boy, it looks like everything's greening up this morning. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome. Good to see y'all. Have a seat. Let's sit a spell. Y'all just come on in. My name's Fred Ellis, and I'm the storyteller here at this piece of property. And that's the story that I'm going to be telling y'all this morning. We're going to try and meet here every week and tell a story or two. Hope y'all enjoy it. Enjoying it is the main thing. If you learn something you didn't know and it says, I didn't know that, I hope that'll be good. We're going to talk about this morning. I'm going to tell you a story of how we ended up here on the top of Pasture Hill. So we'll just jump right into it and start. It started with the dream of a little girl when she's about 5 or 6 years old. She was born on this piece of property. Her grandfather had bought it around the turn of the century. I'm not talking about 2000, I'm talking about 1900. Sometime between around 1905, give a few years one way or the other, he bought this piece of property. Built a house. They built a house down here just at the foot of the hill. You can still barely see it through the trees. But anyway, I'd like to take you back to a little girl who was about 6 years old, and she used to stay down at her granny's house and had a bedroom down there. And her granny would look out the back window and up the hill here. This was just a big open pasture then, and they called it Pasture Hill. And the little girl would turn to her granny and say, you know, one of these days I'm going to live, I'm going to build me a house up there, and I'm going to live on Pasture Hill. Well, let's move forward again about 70 years. That little girl's all grown now. She's got children. She's living in Calhoun, Georgia with her son and daughter-in-law. They've got an apartment. Her and her husband, Alvin, have an apartment attached to the house. Well, she and her son-in-law, me, were sitting in the kitchen there one day just talking, and me being kind of inquisitive about history and stuff, I was kind of asking her about the farm and the property and how her family, and she was telling me about how she grew up here and telling me the story of her dreaming to have a house up on Pasture Hill someday. We talked on a little bit longer, and June says, you know, Fred, my father set aside 2 acres on the hill. He said that any of the grandchildren could have any 2 acres they picked out on the farm, but there was only one stipulation. They had to build a house and live on the farm. It was kind of an incentive. He wanted his grandkids here, but he also wanted to give them some incentive to live here and maintain the farm and the family. Now, there's been some of it sold off, but there's still about 100 acres all total. And it belonged to June and her 2 sisters after her father passed. Well, now it belongs mostly to their grandchildren. June is passed now. It's been about 3 years. Now, to say I love my mother-in-law is an understatement. That was one of the sweetest, toughest women I knew. She was a little bitty short woman, but had a great disposition. And up until the last year of her life, where she began to suffer from dementia, she was just past 90, I think, when she passed. But up until that time, she had finally completed her dream. Anyway, back to the kitchen. I'm getting ahead of myself, but I do that, telling these stories sometimes. But anyway, June and I were talking, and she says, Fred, if you and Laura ever decide to come to Canton, I'll not only she not only will have her 2 acres, but I'll give y'all 3 more acres to build a house on. Said all you have to come is live down there. Well, at the time, Laura and I had retired from the state, so we had us an income. Both of us had retired. Laura had retired with a few years. She couldn't draw her retirement until she was 65. But I had stayed the full time with the State Patrol and retired when I was 55, so I drew my full retirement. So we had means. Plus, Laura had signed me up a few years before retirement to take a pottery class. But anyway, so I talked it over. We were living in Rossville at the time, in my old family place where I was raised. My mother had and family had died, and I'd inherited the house up there, and Laura and I had moved over there from Fort Oglethorpe after we retired. Actually, we moved over there before we retired. But anyway, so June had offered an extra 3 acres, to give 5 acres here, and I talked it over with Laura, and she said, well, I've lived part-time there. She was raised in Dalton. Her grandfather was a state trooper too, and he had gone through Dalton, been the post commander up there, and her mother had gone to high school there and had graduated and married, and they had raised a family. And Laura had only been down here visiting on holidays and stayed with her granny some, and so we talked it over and said, yeah, we'll move down there. So I got back with June and I said, June, you got any plans on a house? She said, no, but I'll start looking for some. So she started looking for plans. I started looking up contractors here in Canton. Well, the first thing I did was check with some of the family and say, hey, y'all know anybody that's a builder down there? And one of Laura's cousins who lives here on the property within a mile of us here or less said, yeah, fella I graduated from high school with builds houses. So I made contact with him and found a couple of other contractors and got a hold of them and got them to submit a bid. And I took the fellow that she'd gone to school with, that Laura's cousin had gone to school with, and got a hold of him and accepted his bid. And we started building a house here on Pasture Hill. Well, we built a house. Not only that, we had been using the garage as a studio up in Rossville, and then I had a trailer on the back lot, 65-foot house trailer, so we took it over to use as the pottery. But I decided I'd build a pottery right here and build it the way I wanted to, with the specifications, with what I wanted and needed in the pottery. Well, I'll give y'all a tour of it on one of these storytelling times. So anyway, we built the house here. June found the plans in Southern Living magazine, of all things. We bought the plans, we got the contractor and started. It was a nice house, just the right size for us. It had a bedroom suite on each side of the house, and in the middle a big great room, family room with access to the kitchen. A bar separated the kitchen. So we built the house here. And June lived here for about 17 years. And I think she was happy. She always seemed to be. So it just goes to show you that no matter how long it takes, don't ever give up on your dreams. Because here was a child who, as 5 or 6 years old, wanted to build a house and finally ended up living on Pasture Hill. I'm glad y'all came. I hope you come back again. We're glad to have you. We like sitting out here on the porch telling stories. I'm going to try to do this each week, so I'll hope you'll join us. I got a lot more to tell. I spent 30 years with the State Patrol. I've got all kinds of stories from the road we can tell. Also, I spent 8 years in the Air Force. Did 2 tours in the Vietnam War zone. Got some stories to tell there. I was a fireman, so we got stories from the flight line. Laura and I spent several years volunteering with the Park Service after we retired. We'd take our motor home, they'd give us a place to park, we'd pull it up there, and we'd stay 3 or 4 months. We were working with the Park Service law enforcement. That was one of the stipulations to do that. So I got all kinds of funny bear stories especially. We got all kinds of stories dealing with being in the Great Smoky Mountain State Park. So we got a wide range of stories to tell, and I hope y'all will enjoy them. Down below, we've got a link to our website. Check it out. We got pottery on there. We've got pottery making videos you can view for free. They don't cost anything. All you have to do is click on them, watch them. Maybe you'll see how pottery's made and pick up a few ideas. And I'll invite you back here every week. And if y'all are ever in the area, look us up. Something Southern Pottery. See y'all next week.